Welcome to Second to None. I'm Michael, and I'm the host. Hey, man, we got a great show tonight. Once again, I'm going to get away from the usual SEC sports talk for the week or whatever. And this time, we actually going to focus on the Orange Bowl. I got Dustin representing Tennessee. And out of the SEC, go SEC. And I got Jason representing Clemson from the ACC. We're going to have a showdown. So I'm going to just give these guys a chance to just briefly say, how they affiliate with Tennessee or whatever, how long they've been, and then we'll get right into the questions. We'll start with you, Jason.
Yeah, I'm Jason Priester. I'm on the Clemson beat. I've been covering Clemson for several years now. I'm with allclemson.com, a channel of Sports Illustrated.
That's awesome. Thank you. I appreciate you joining me.
My pleasure, man. I appreciate you having me.
Dustin?
Man, you know my background, but hey, look here. I've been a volunteer fan, a Sidewalk alumni for years and years. It's all good. But you know what though? I love the Vols. I've always loved the Vols. Ever since I was a kid. I mean, since I was like 6, I think I said that was like when I very first went to my very first Tennessee game. So I've covered, I've talked to several Vol players. I stay in touch with a lot of Vol players. So hey, I'm pretty close to the team. Not like you though, Jason. You're right there, right in the middle.
He's right there.
I mean, he's probably gonna be on the ball field there come Saturday night. So Friday night.
Yeah.
I'm in the press box for this one, not on the field.
Hey, that's still impressive though.
Yeah, I am on the field about half the time.
Okay.
Right
half
on,
the
man.
time up top, half the time on the field.
That's
good
awesome,
deal.
man.
Good deal.
That is awesome. So we're gonna just start right out of the gate. And this question is for both of you guys. Destin, what do you fear about Clemson going into the bowl game?
I mean, if I'm being completely honest, what has been Tennessee's biggest issue all season long has been their secondary. We're almost next to last whenever it comes to pass defense. They've got K. Klubnik, which is, I mean, he's a pretty good quarterback. DJ Ugalele, I think I pronounced that last name correct. Obviously he opted out, but K. Klubnik though, he's a pretty good quarterback. And they still have some pretty decent receivers on that team. So that is my biggest concern. Now, as far as their run defense, Tennessee's run defense, I think we've got that pretty well covered.
Same for you, Jason. What do you think the Tigers may, if anything, fear about playing Tennessee?
Oh, man, that tempo. They've not seen anything like that tempo that Tennessee uses. They go fast. They score points in bunches. We've been allowed to watch a couple of practices over the past 2 weeks, and that's the parts we've been allowed to see. That's what emphasis was on, getting prepared for that tempo, trying to make sure you got plenty of stamina. So to me, that's one of the biggest things. You got to be prepared for that tempo because Clemson, the closest thing they've seen to that kind of tempo was when they played Wake Forest earlier in the season, and they struggled with it. Wake Forest, kind of burned them up that day, and I don't think they want to have a repeat performance Friday night.
Well, it's funny because Tennessee pretty much giving everybody issues with the hurry up offense, the speed, and one of the fastest scoring teams in the nation. How do you guys slow down? How would you guys slow down that offense, or contain it? Is it possible?
First thing you got to do is stop the run. I think you got to make them. You got to at least try to make them one-dimensional, and then get some pressure on Joe Milton. If you can do that, you give yourself a puncher's chance in this game. But to me, it's like most games. You got to stop the run first and foremost. And Clemson, for the most part, has been fairly successful at that. I think they're like 10th in the country in run defense. But you got to stop the run. And other than that, Clemson's secondary has been up and down all season. It really they got off to a slow start. They had some inexperience on the back end. It's kind of picked up over the past few games, hit a little bump in the road against South Carolina. But other than that, it's been fairly solid for the most part. But to me, it all starts and stops with stopping that run. If you let Tennessee run the ball at will, it's going to be a long night.
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee, where they are a running team, right? I mean that even with Joe Milton in the ball game, they went for over 350 yards on the ground. So for Clemson, that's going to be one of the biggest things. Um, Joe Milton, they said that he's kind of clean and crisp now. He's getting a little more accurate with his passes and stuff, kind of during the bowl practice. But for that's going to be one of the biggest things, though, is stopping Jalen Wright, stopping Jabari Small. Those guys are really good running backs. But like you just said, Jason, I mean, they're number 11 in the country right now for run defense. They've only allowed 1,300 yards total, and they've only allowed 101 yards per game. So their rush defense is pretty good, and that's definitely a concern as well because, like I said, Tennessee is an underlying running team.
Uh, with the end of the season, a lot of players from a lot of different teams has actually decided to either opt out of the bowl game or transfer. How's that going to hurt you guys as teams going into this bowl game? Do you guys think you guys have enough players that may be stuck around? Because I'm not really sure about Clemson. I know Tennessee. I know they lost a few guys to the draft and transfer or whatever. So how is that going to hold up? Is this going to be a competitive game with what you guys actually have on the field?
Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, Clemson only actually had one guy opt out, defensive end Miles Murphy.
Okay.
Starting linebacker Trenton Simpson's out. He's injured. I feel like he'd have played if he wouldn't have been injured. He got injured in the ACC championship game. He didn't even have to come back into that game, but he did. I think it even surprised Dabo Swinney that he came back in. But, those are two guys that they're missing. Clemson's got a little bit of depth at defensive end, and they've got a freshman at linebacker that's played a lot behind Simpson this year. So I don't think those are losses that they can't overcome, but they're big losses nonetheless. Miles Murphy's one of the better pass rushers on the team. And without Simpson Simpson plays what's called the Sam in Clemson's defense, basically the strong side linebacker. And they ask that guy to do a lot of things. They ask him to cover the tight ends, the backs. I mean, he's got to do a lot of things. And that's a 3-year guy. You're taking him out of the game and you're inserting a true freshman who despite the fact that he's played well when he's been in the game this year, he's still inexperienced. This is a big stage for an inexperienced player.
Sure. Yeah. For us, right, we lost Jalen Hyatt, right? Blitnikoff winner. Excellent receiver. But we do have Brew McCoy still there. We do have Squirrel White. Squirrel White did get a lot of reps this year. He is a true freshman this year. But when you really can't really look at Cedric Tillman because when he really didn't get a lot of playing time right after that game against Akron with that high ankle sprain. So he was out a lot. But whenever he did come back in against South Carolina, we lost. So I guess you really can't look at that. But one of the biggest, of course, man, is Hendon Hooker. Without that guy, I mean, he's kind of the bread and butter of that offense. I mean, he's the leader of that offense. We still have Darnell Wright. He said he is going to the league, but he is playing in the Orange Bowl. So, as far as what we've lost, obviously Hendon Hooker, but our receivers, we do still have some really good receivers still there, to cover those two spots that we did lose.
JP, how do you see now? Milton hasn't really been he hasn't really been the most accurate quarterback, but the guy has a cannon on it, and the guy can throw the ball. Do you think your corners are going to be able to contain long enough and make sure that they don't get that they stay deeper than the deeper man?
That's a very good question. Like I said, this secondary, the corners in particular, have been exposed at times this year. Starting corner Sheridan Jones did not even practice today. He was in a yellow non-contact jersey yesterday. He was in street clothes today. I'm not even sure he's going to play.
Okay.
I guess we'll find out tomorrow when the head coaches speak. But if he doesn't play, then you're going with your other starter, who is a sophomore, in Nate Wiggins, and possibly true freshman Toriano Pride. And Pride has looked really good at times this season, but he's also looked like a true freshman at times this season. He's still got a lot of growing to do. Very talented corner. He's probably going to be really good, but he's not quite there yet. For me, Clemson needs to control the line of scrimmage, get pressure on Milton. The best pass defense in this game for Clemson will probably be a strong pass rush, not giving Milton time to throw the ball down the field and take advantage of some of those deficiencies on the back end of that defense.
Dustin, Milt,
Sorry.
he's trying to be the guy for next year. So how
Yeah.
much pressure do you think is going to be on him to go out to show not only the coaches, the fan base, the community, that they can trust him going into next year? I know it's
Yeah.
just a bowl game, but you guys want to win the bowl game. How much
Yeah,
pressure,
sure.
How much pressure is on him to make sure that he performs?
Sure. I mean, you guys know as well as I do, right? A bowl game can kind of break or make going into the next season, kind of how that starts. So Milton has a lot to prove in this ball game. Sure, sure, we're trusting him because, he is the next man up. But at the same time, though, he has got to be accurate, though, with his passes. He has to make smart decisions. If he doesn't, we do have a 5-star quarterback that's coming in next year that is wanting to take that number 1 spot. So this is a big game for him to, how is he going to be able to prove himself? Is he going to be able to pass the yard, pass it 10 yards without throwing a bullet to his receivers? That's been his biggest issue all season long. And he has to make smart throws. He cannot throw to those Clemson defensive backs because Clemson defense, they can score on you. I've watched a couple of games of Clemson this year. They can score. So he has got to make smart decisions, and he cannot throw bullets 15, 20 yards down the field. And I don't know if you guys saw there in the Vanderbilt game, but we needed to check on Squirrel White on his chest, son. My God, he threw a ball 100 yards, and I don't know, it plumb popped.
Yeah,
it's crazy. So
one of the receivers today told us a story about Milton, how hard he throws.
Yeah,
and I think this happened last year. I think it was last year, and I can't remember the receiver's name. Must be one of the starters because they had him talking to us today. If you said his name, I know it, but hit 10-yard pass thrown so hard, split his hand open.
Wow.
Split his hand open, and they had to glue it back together.
Possibly.
What's his name?
Princeton Fant, possibly.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. He's actually the receiver there in the Florida game who plumb laid out like probably 10 yards just to catch that ball from Hendon Hooker way down the field. But yeah, man, that's I'm telling you, that this guy has a dang cannon on his arm. Did you guys see the video of Milton throwing the orange 100 yards like it was nothing?
It was nothing.
They talked about that a lot today. That was talked about a lot today.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, man. I'm telling you, this guy. That I think that's his biggest flaw is he's so big and so strong that he doesn't know how to control his strength, and he doesn't. That's to be a quarterback, you have to be accurate, and that's our biggest concern coming into this ball game is his accuracy. If Hendon Hooker was in this ball game, no doubt about it. I would almost say that we're going to win this no matter what, but it's all coming down to Milton.
If I didn't know any better, I'd swear up and down you were talking about DJ Uyunglele because he had the same issues, man, throwing bullets from 5 yards away and accuracy problems last year and resurfaced toward the end of this year. Yeah, it sounds very familiar.
The cat, he's a monster. He's like 6'5". He's 235, 40 pounds. He's a big guy to be a quarterback. He's huge. And his arms are massive. And like I said, dude, he can pass that ball. 200 yards if he really wanted to throw it out of the stadium. So that's just our biggest concern is how is he going to handle the pressure? How is he going to handle the Clemson defensive lineman being in his face? Is he going to make smart throws? Is he going to make smart decisions? That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing for us.
Jason, you mentioned the line of scrimmage. How do you guys, if one thing is true about football, it's all about those big boys up front. It's all about that line of scrimmage. You gotta control that. How do you guys control uh, their line of scrimmage so you guys can get your offense going?
Yeah, that's going to be one of the keys for Clemson. As much as that Tennessee defense gets ragged on for the deficiencies in the pass defense, their defensive front's pretty good.
They are.
They've been very good against the run for the most part, most of the season. That doesn't get talked about a lot. But I think this is going to be a big time challenge for Clemson's offensive line. They got a true freshman starting at right tackle who's really played well down the stretch. But Clemson's offensive line, I wouldn't call it elite by any stretch of the imagination. It's been more than serviceable, but I wouldn't call it elite. It's been, for the most part, pretty good in pass protection and kind of up and down when it comes to opening running lanes. But I think that's one of the bigger unknowns for me heading into this game is can Clemson's offensive line win that battle against Tennessee's defensive front? I think that'll be one of the keys to the game.
Yeah, and for Tennessee, the offensive line overall they are pretty good. The biggest games that we had issues out of obviously is Georgia, right? Georgia, that was in South Carolina. Those were the two games that really give us the most fit. So our offensive line overall is pretty good. Tennessee's offensive line, they give the quarterback plenty of time to throw. And they're going to have to do that against Clemson's, front four, front five. I don't know what type of defense that Clemson's been running. But yeah, they're just going to have to make sure that they are protecting Joe Milton. Because if not, it's going to be a long day, buddy. It's going to be a long day. If Clemson's defensive line is in Milton's face, it's going to be a long day.
Clemson typically runs a 4-3 look. Broke out a lot of three-man looks against Drake May in North Carolina in the ACC championship game, lining up Brian Bresee over at end. So wouldn't shock me to see that again.
Yeah. And Drake May, speaking of, man, he was another one. He's an excellent quarterback. And you was able to see what Clemson was able to do. They were able to shut down Drake May's passing game, like it's going out of style. And so that's Tennessee, like you said, man, they rely heavily on the pass. So I see Tennessee running the ball quite a bit in this ball game. Quite a bit.
I think it's going to be exciting. I think it's going to be a battle to see who really wants it the most. I think both teams have something to prove. As you said earlier, Dustin, going into next year. So my final question for you gentlemen is, what's the number one thing you have to consistently do to force your opponent to play your game, to play your style of game? I start with you, Jason.
Clemson's got to be able to run the ball.
Okay.
If they can't run the ball, that's the game, set, match. Tennessee will be able to, pin their ears back, come after K. Klubnik, because, as much hype as there is surrounding this kid, I know he's the number one quarterback in the country last cycle, 5-star guy, all that stuff. He's still making his first start. This is going to be his first career start. And in that North Carolina game, in that North Carolina game, I know it was a big stage. Nothing like this is going to be. And everything went right that night for him. He didn't face any adversity. Everything went Clemson's way after he came into that game. I don't think they punted but once or twice, if my memory's right. And they didn't turn the ball over, and Clemson had been a turnover machine leading into that game. But, I'm kind of curious to see how the freshman responds when he faces some adversity, when things aren't going his way. But to me, it starts and stops with those running backs, Will Shipley, Phil Moffitt. You got to get them going, take some pressure off of the freshmen. If you don't do that, I think Clemson's in big-time trouble.
Okay, Dustin, what do you guys got to do consistently to make Clemson play your game?
I think Jason mentioned it earlier, man, and that's run the tempo. That is Tennessee's strength against all teams. It wears out defenses quickly. Now, the problem is it wears out Tennessee's defense quickly as well. That's the problem. But at the same time though, They can slow it down when they need to, but they can get, right back. I think they were on average, they were snapping the ball every 9 to 10 seconds. That's the fastest out of anybody in the entire country. So that's the biggest thing for Tennessee. If they don't run this up tempo offense, it's done. It's done.
Well, I for one, I'm looking forward to this ball game, man. I think it's going to be a good ball game, competitive. Hey guys, I want to thank you guys for taking time out today. I know it's the holidays, you guys are getting ready for your bowl game. Jason, appreciate you taking the time just to step away and chat with me and Dustin.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. I hate that I'm on this hotel Wi-Fi and the video's so grainy.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Please don't worry about that. Everything was really good, but I really wish both of you guys I'm a UK fan, by the way, Dustin knows. But I really wish you guys. So believe me, I've felt the wrath of Tennessee for long enough. But anyway,
man, you felt the wrath of Tennessee for the past 30 years. What are you talking about?
Exactly. So I felt the wrath of them. But hey, I really, really do appreciate you guys taking the time out to join me. It means a lot to me. So once again, I'm Michael. This is second to none. You guys can find us on YouTube, podcast, TikTok, Instagram. Go check us out. And just once again, I'm so appreciative of you guys just taking the time out to speak to me today. And once again, I wish both of you guys the best.
My pleasure, man.
No
Appreciate
problem.
it.
All right, thank you guys, and you guys have a great evening. Okay.
All right, bud.
Thanks.
Hey, thanks, guys.
I got to run, man.
Okay.
I got a dinner.
Are you good?
I got you. All right, thanks, guys.
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Okay.
That was good, man.
That was good, man. It was. Hold on 1 second. Let me just hold on. Let me do this right here. I always forget to do this.
Yeah, you'll have to edit this.